What's up everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing TimeSplitters 2. I went back to play this recently because I wanted to play a classic PS2 game. I got in the mood for it and I said, why not? TimeSplitters 2 is a great game, but at first when you look at it, you think it's not much content it offers. But the more you get into it, the more you realise how much content is actually in the game. I'll start off with the single player campaign. The thing that makes this single player campaign unique is the fact that in each level you're in a different time zone. Such as, for example, in one level you could be in the future, in like a future Tokyo where everything there's heavy surveillance and hovering cars. And in another level you'll be playing as this explorer in this ancient temple looking for an artifact. You play as these different characters who have a brief opening cutscene introducing who the character is, what he looks like, and just give you like a brief idea of who you're playing as and the situation they're in. There's not much story here, but the brief cutscenes that are here, they're funny and they're enjoyable, and the missions are fun. And the fact that there's different weapons and each environment takes place in a different time zone and different type of enemies according to that time zone, it really adds a variety to the game that's sorely missing in most first person shooters you find these days. No level ever gets boring because there's always new objectives and new enemies and weapons to fight and use, and it has a nice pace. And the missing objectives are, admittedly, most of them are kind of the same, but a good majority of them tend to vary and make each level feel unique on its own. And the good thing is, if you play on easy difficulty, you'll just go through the game and play the level and you just do normal objectives. But the thing that I find interesting in this is, if you play on normal, you play the same level, same objectives, but they add extra secondary objectives that weren't present in the easy version of that level. And then if you go into the hard difficulty, the hardest difficulty in the game, you have to say all the objectives. There's no added ones here, but all the secondary are primary, which means you have to complete each mission or else you'll fail the mission and have to restart all over again. And I like this aspect. It's a good way to do difficulty, because not only does it increase how difficult the enemies are, how much health they take from you, how hard it is to kill them, but it also adds an extra dynamic with extra missions to a level. It's just so you don't see normally. Usually just are cheap these days, where they just have these enemies shooting bullets and you get killed in 2 hits, which is fine, but it's nice to have some extra detail put into the levels. And the single player campaign is, honestly, it's just that. There's a couple of funny cutscenes, and that's about it. I'm not going to go too much into the story because there isn't the talk about. Basically, there's this alien race, or wherever they are, called TimeSplitters, and they have these crystals which allows them to travel in time, and they just want to wreck shit up. And you're this agent, or Sergeant Cortez, and he's with this other, he's with this woman who's trying to stop him on this alien base. It doesn't really tell you that much, but it's fun, and it's a fun game. The story, what's there, is funny, and it'll keep you going from start to finish, but that's all I can say about that. Moving on. Then we got, I believe it's arcade mode, which is essentially multiplayer matches with bots. Now this could quickly be born, except for the fact that there's 3 leagues. I forget the name exactly, but I believe it's Novice, Honorary, Elite, or something like that. It's basically easy, normal, and hard. And each one of these sections has their own separate categories of missions. Like, for example, there'll be a team deathmatch or a deathmatch. But they always add an interesting twist, which this is where you get the real detail with TimeSplitters 2. This is where it separates itself from other first-person shooters. Why they could have just done, like, say, deathmatch, kill these 25 people in this time limit, and that could have been it. In this, they go the extra mile, for example. They'll give this brief text. It's more like flavour text. It's not important, not substantial, but it's just nice. And it gives you a bit more interest into what you're doing. For example, I did this deathmatch mode where I have to face these zombies and I'm playing as this doctor. And they could just throw me in there and I'm like, okay. But they actually give you this text where it says that this doctor left the morgue open and now these zombies have come to life and he has to go in and take out the zombies before they escape. And essentially it's just a team deathmatch, or free-for-all in this case. But it's nice that they add these extra text to add a bit of flavour to the match. And this is for all of them. And then you have the challenge mode, which essentially have these unique challenges. For example, you have to break all these windows in this area in a certain time limit, or else you get bronze, silver, gold, wherever time you finish. And there's so many other challenges like that. It's just great, and there's different variations of this challenge. For example, the breaking the windows. You'll start off where you have to break the windows first, grand. Then you will get a brick, which then you have to throw through each window, and there's different variations on each challenge. And there's a number of challenges as well, and it adds so much more to the game for single player wise. And that's not even the best part of this game. First of all, the best part is the map maker. It's simple, it's easy to use, but it can be really deep. And the thing is, the more you play like these challenges and single player death matches and all that, you unlock more stuff for a map maker, which gives you a reason to do all these challenges in the first place. And the map maker is so good. It's easy, you can do it fast, and there's so many things you can do with it. It may not be as extensive as like Halo 3 Forge or any map maker you find these days, but it's still fairly good. And the fact how easy it is to use, then just, for example, if you and a couple of your friends want to play TimeSplitters 2 deathmatch, but you don't want to play any of the maps that are there, which there is plenty, and they're all great game modes and maps and weapons. It's just a fun time for multiplayer. But if you make Map Maker, you go in, you make your map. It can be amazing, it can be just a small normal thing, but whatever you make, you finish it and you instantly can click into the game and you can all play on that map or wherever you set up in it. It's that easy, but it just adds how much content is in this game. TimeSplitters 2 is a really underappreciated game. And I'm looking forward to playing TimeSplitters 3 next. I still haven't played it, but once I finish that, I will definitely be putting a review up for that. I understand that this review may not even matter because, well, TimeSplitters 2 came out a couple of years ago. Well, it's nice to revisit classic games every now and then. And TimeSplitters 2 is just a really good first-person shooter. And if you've never checked out, I'd recommend you do. It's dirt cheap now. I got mine for a tenner. I mean, it's so cheap, but it adds so much value and content. And it's just so much fun to play. And I didn't even tell you the amount of characters you can unlock. There's so many different characters. They all look funny. And the graphics have a nice charm to it. They're not realistic graphics. They're kind of cartoony graphics, but they have this nice charm. It's just they're just fun. It's a nice looking game, and it's just hard to describe the graphics. They kind of have the people have like chunky, kind of mixed with cartoony. It's hard to describe, but it's really good. And the gameplay, the most important part of any game, is smooth as hell. The shooting's great. Everything about the gameplay is great. There's not much to the gameplay, but while it's there, especially for a PS2 game and back then, it rivals some first-person shooters today. And I'm playing this, I wonder why TimeSplitters 4 has never been made. I mean, but at the same time, I'd be worried if it did get made, that all these extra features, like the map maker, would come for DLC. And that's something that worries me, because you know in these times, that could happen. But nonetheless, TimeSplitters 2 is a phenomenal game, and I recommend any of you check it out. It is worth buying this minute, especially if you have a PS2. And if you have more friends to play with, even better. This game is just fun whenever you want to play it. And that's all that needs to be said. So thank you for listening to the review, and if you like it, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do, and I'll see you next time.